and I'll tell you guys since we're all friends. Every character I write has a piece of me in them. Hi, I'm Lee Bardugo. You're listening to the GrishaCast.
Welcome to GrishaCast, episode 100 and a half. In this episode, I will be joined by my friend and member of the GrishaCast staff, Michelle. This is your host, Eric, from Nashville, Tennessee, and Tampa, Florida. This is your podcast for all things Grishaverse, a world created by Lee Bardugo, who creatively brought today's guest and I together. The Grishaverse, bringing insane fantasy lovers together. Grisha are never alone. Whew! Moi Saviani casters, I fit that in. I just felt like I really tried to put a lot of information in there right at the end. But anyways, hi. I'm glad you guys are joining us. I love these special episodes because, one, it's usually me geeking out with someone, and tonight it's with a really good friend. First off, though, I do want to remind you, go and check out our Facebook page. Follow and like us, please, and stay attuned. There is some special stuff coming, and it will be on there that you will hear some news, and possibly on here as well. But if you wouldn't mind, that would be fantastic. We would love for you to go to our Facebook page. So, with further ado, our guest this evening is my friend Michelle, who I met actually through this podcast. And it's really cool because I pretty much stalked Michelle. She was a fan of the podcast and was listening and mentioned in one of our social media outlets that she had some ideas. And long story short, I was trying so hard to find it. And anyways, took forever. I finally found it. Contacted her, hoping that she would answer through the messenger thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is so crazy. But she did, and we talked, and then we even started talking on the phone, and hey, ever since then we've just been friends, and now she's a part of my staff. It's awesome. So we love the Grishaverse. So anyways, without further ado, let me introduce you to my friend and coworker, Michelle. Yay!
Hello.
Wasn't
Hey,
that
Eric.
Hi! Wasn't that a fabulous introduction?
Yes, I feel so loved.
Well, you are. You were stalked by GrishaCast. So
Exactly. It's an honor.
Exactly. It can't get any better than that. So, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I
Good.
just graduated with my master's, and it's been a crazy 2 years with the pandemic and everything, but I got through it and I'm here.
You did. Well, we are so proud of you, and that is awesome. And yeah, you've had a lot of changes going on. So I'm surprised you're not your hair's not sticking out and going crazy because the amount of change you've had in this short period of time, whew, goodness gracious. It's
I'm
crazy.
surprised my hair isn't entirely white or gray at this point.
Not sporting an Alina.
Yes.
Well, you look fabulous. And yeah, which is great. So so first off, let's let our listeners get to know you a little bit more. Well, I think they saw this. The question is, on your Grishaverse passport, what name do you go by? So not to have any spoilers, but it was already on the screen, wasn't it? I believe it showed that Michelle goes by Michelle. It's just has the spelling different, like I do. So earlier you saw that Myshel. Sorry, Michelle, I'm answering that question for you.
There you go.
But
that's my Grisha passport name.
Exactly. So, but what order and suborder would you be in?
Etherealkai and Shadow Summoner.
Wow, that is a very brave answer.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't think anybody else ever answers that. And I love it. That's why we're friends. Just because of that. That one thing. I think that is absolutely amazing that you're just like, yep, I'm a Shadow Summoner. So what how did you get introduced to the Grishaverse and Lee Bardugo? What's your story?
Well, I followed Ben Barnes for a while. I've been a huge fan of his, since Prince Caspian. And so I followed him on Instagram, and I saw that he had posted like the everyone's seen the photo of the casting photo of the announcement that he was going to be in this new show on Netflix called Shadow and Bone. I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a book series," and it's like I got to buy all these books. And so I, pretty much, okay, what's the order? Okay, I'm going to read everything in this universe because I figured out who was playing. I'm like, okay, yes, I could definitely see Ben as this Darkling person, whoever they are.
Wow. So, have you read what have you read?
Everything, yeah, every book, all the,
Wow,
the main
you got it done. That's
main, what is it, 6, 7 at this point? I don't know, and then all the short stories, novellas, everything.
wow. Did you finish all of that by the time that the show started?
Oh yeah, because
You're a fast reader.
very
That's
fast.
that's awesome. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. So, you you started with the Shadow and Bone trilogy, I'm guessing.
Yes, I just
Okay.
went in order. Well, actually, I read Demon in the Wood first because I saw that it was a prequel. So I read that, which
No,
it sort of confused me on some things with like what the orders were because I didn't know, but it didn't really spoil anything.
right.
So technically, that's the first thing I read was Demon in the Wood. Then I read
Well,
Shadow.
that is very unique because I've never heard anybody else say that. But you're right. That story doesn't have any spoilers, but I could definitely see it being a little confusing. Um,
Just the terminology, and then after reading Shadowbone, I'm like, okay, and then I read it again. I'm like, okay, now that story makes sense. But
yeah,
I never was like, oh, that's the Darkling. That's who that's about. I didn't know.
yeah, that story by itself without any prior knowledge would be very confusing because there is no explanation. Lee was assuming that you had read all, like at least
Mhm.
knew the magic and things like that. But that's neat. I love that you read the prequel first. Do you normally read like that? Like if there's a prequel out of a series, do you read that first, or was that just something that you just did this one time?
It depends. Like if there is a prequel, I'm like, because usually it'll like a prequel that'll set up the world or the story. So I didn't know that this was just like a prequel of one person. So normally, if it was just that, then I wouldn't. But I didn't know what prequel it was, so I just went ahead and read it.
Yeah, it's a prequel, but it's not gonna spoil anything. So
Yeah, 'cause even the Bogger thing was, that wasn't spoiled because it just says his mother in the story, so you don't, oh, that's Bogger. I'm like,
right,
oh, you know, you know.
yeah, and they don't go by because her name's not in. Like they don't mention her
And he's
name.
called Eric,
I
funnily
know.
enough.
Which and that's so funny because, like, I remember when I was trying to come up with my Grishaverse spelling, and I came up with Eric, Eryk, but I thought I had come up with that all by myself until I reread Demon in the Wood and realized, "Oh, I don't think I came up with that. I think that I saw that." Because it's like the first line or something is like
Yeah.
Eric spelled the way that I do. And I was like, "Okay, oops." Anyways. Well, cool. So, you just told us all about so you've read everything. The Demon in the Wood, by the way, of course, we're all excited about the upcoming graphic novel. I'm so excited to see the pictures and interested to see what they're gonna add to it because they've said that it's extended.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that too, and it comes out a day before my birthday, so it's my birthday present.
That's awesome. When does it come out again? I actually forgot.
September 27th. So yeah, mine birthday's September 28th. So yeah, birthday present.
Wow, that is a birthday present for you. That's It's so cool they're gonna do that. I'm excited to see what this, like, extra information is gonna be. Just because that story, I always thought I always liked it, but I felt like I don't wanna say it was missing, but I felt like I wish there was so much more that could have been in it when I read it. I just wanted to, like, the Darkling is just one of those characters and, like, reading about him growing up, I just want to know a lot, and I felt like I wanted to know more. So I'm
We
excited that
still don't know much about his early life, and I'd love to see that. And Bagra's, early life, all we've seen, like, a little bit of her as, child, but we don't see any of the, centuries she must have lived before she even had him.
yeah, she would that would be an amazing story, and I have heard Lee say that that would be a really cool novella to write. So that has like we have poked the bear a little bit, so maybe we will get that one day because I would love it. That would be amazing. So okay, who's your favorite character?
Might come as a surprise, but it's
It's
the Darkling. I know there hasn't been any hints whatsoever in the.
well, I get it. I absolutely get it because that's my second. Like I love villains. Villains are always my favorite. I always fall in love with villains, and I love every chapter about them when I'm reading a book and like it's covering the villain. Like I just get very excited. I've always been that way.
Yeah,
So
I love a villain in everything, and I love just seeing like what made him this way. How did they, end up where they were, and you can understand like their side, and like, okay, I get what they were coming from. They just completely just executed it wrong.
yeah, I think there's also something about like I always love a really like hot and sexy villain too.
Exactly.
That makes it even better, you know? Just it's amazing. But the Darkling is just a really cool character. The name itself, like I remember like when I first read that name, I was like, it's really just enticing. Like it's just wow,
Ooh, who's
interesting.
this person? Like, ooh, sounds,
Yeah,
mysterious. Who's that?
it's so cool. So, well, I love it. That's awesome. And there are a lot of Darkling lovers out there. And hey, if hopefully if you're listening to this, then you have followed along and we just finished Rule of Wolves. So, we got to stop kind of giving crap to him because the Grishaverse is around only because of him. Like he just saved the world and hey, I didn't see that coming. But- So, do you have a favorite book or a favorite part or favorite scene or anything like that?
I think overall, Shadow and Bone is my favorite book, but there's a lot of parts in Siege and Storm that I love as well. Of course, we finally get to meet Nikolai, and it's like you finally get a lot of the action in that one. And my favorite scene, I love at the like towards the end of Siege and Storm when Alina like tricks the Darkling in the chapel, and she creates her own Nichevoya, and it's just great. I love that scene.
Yes. It is an amazing scene.
Power. It's like what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. I'm like, yes, get him.
I know, and I didn't see that coming either. It really is shocking and kind of it's surprising, and it's just a really cool. That is a very. I feel like it's emotional too. That just because when you're at Siege and Storm, what you've already gone through in Alina's his. Well, you know what? I gotta stop talking because we're gonna get to that later on in our episode. But I hear you, and Shadow and Bone will remain my favorite to this day because it was my introduction and how much like just that opens up the world and I love it. Um it's an amazing book. I absolutely love it. I mean, obviously like Lives of Saints is like I love that so much, but like I don't know, Shadow and Bone, it was the first one. It was the first book I read and at that time in my life when I read that, which was I know this is gonna sound crazy, but it was actually in 2012 when it was out. Like it just, yeah, it was a good book. So, and it helped me. It was neat. So, anyways,
Yeah, I started reading it, and I like immediately, consumed it. It's like I have to keep, reading it to see what finds out, what happens.
it's so different. It's a really cool. I feel like it's a unique fantasy because I just find it so different compared to a lot of other fantasy books. I feel like a lot of fantasy can usually be grouped together and find a lot of it really in common, but when I read Shadow and Bone, there was just so many parts of it that were so different and unique that it was just like, wow, this is really just it's a really cool world that she built and thought about, but didn't like go overboard either. It's really cool. And the fold, oh my god. Like,
Yeah, that was really cool. And I love that Alina's basically on, the bad side already and doesn't know that she's, befriending the villain, that's going to end up being the villain. I thought that was really cool because you don't really see like our hero already on like the villain side first,
yeah.
you know.
I was totally tricked by that too. Like, I was totally surprised by it. Like, Terry, she knows everything way before things happen. I forget things after I read it. Like, I already read Rule of Wolves, and we just so when we did it for the show, that was my second time. I feel like my second time was really my first time because like I really absorbed a lot more then. But yeah, I Shadow and Bone just like I was so shocked by so much stuff. Like, what? The Darkling is bad? Like, I mean, like, and it's so funny because when you say it out loud, oh, the Darkling is bad? Really?
I'm like, oh, person who just calls himself the Darkling. Oh wait,
Hmm.
they're the villain. What?
How's that a surprise, Lord? So, have you watched the Netflix show?
Yes,
Uh,
many times.
it is really good. Yes, I agree. What do you think of the adaptation of that?
I loved it. I just loved, actually seeing, the world and how they did the costumes. That's what I love about adaptations, that at least I get to see what I've, seen in my head, you know.
Agreed.
And I was actually really surprised how well they handled integrating the crows into the storyline, that it made sense, at least if, you read the book. I'm sure it was very confusing for people that hadn't read anything, but, for book readers, it made sense to me.
I agree. I loved it. The when I saw it was they let out a picture of the fold for the first time, and it's like the picture where Alina's like standing and like she's
Yeah.
like looking out at the fold. I burst out in tears because like seeing that for the first time, it was just very emotional because like it's something that like has been in my head for so long, and like I had like it's just that's you don't know what that actually looks like. It's just in our minds, but to actually see it, and I was so excited to finally see like a kefta because oh my gosh, the internet before the show came out, looking up keftas, there were so many different things that it could like way like there were just a lot of different options and different things that people were thinking it was going to look like. And Lives of Saints came out luckily before, but it didn't really like the pictures in it didn't show so graphically about the keftas. Like you couldn't really look at those pictures and tell like the details as much as the show. So, anyways, I love that. I was really excited about the keftas. Um, I love that, and I think they're gonna get better as we go on because you got to remember they have different keftas for different like occasions. So, oh my gosh, the the one that Zoya wears at the end of Rule of Wolves when she's crowned, I want that one.
Yeah.
Literally.
I want to see, like, because I know Alina's going to get her white one soon, and I want to see how they do her hair, when it turns
Yeah,
white. It looks so cool.
it's gonna be really neat to see that. There's a lot of scenes I'm excited to see, and I agree with you 100% about like. But here, I got to stop agreeing with you. We have plans. So, real quickly, last question for everybody, just to get to know you. What would you be a sancta of?
Yeah, I thought a lot about this question, but it's like given like the last, I guess, couple years, like doing my master's, I was thinking, sancta of knowledge and perseverance.
There you
I've
go.
definitely doing a lot of that, just getting through the semester and having to deal with going online and, like everyone else and, other things. It's just very stressful.
That's incredible. Well, I'm glad yours is truthful. Whenever I answered this question, I have literally always come up either with like a funny like story and made up like a funny one, like, but I don't think I've ever done it seriously, and I need to do that sometime. But I think what I'm trying not to have happen is that if I did it seriously, it would most likely be like the funny one. Because I remember the last one I did was like I think he was the saint of cheesecake and Golden Girls. That's right.
Oh yeah.
And like if I really think about that, that's a really personal thing to me. Cheesecake's my absolute favorite dessert, plain. And Golden Girls is like a show that is timeless that I have always loved and have watched and have all the DVDs. And I love that it's on Hulu because now you can just watch. Like, I love that. So, anyways, maybe that's why I'm so scared to actually do it for real. But,
Hey, I
anyways,
love Saint of cheesecake. That's my favorite dessert too.
yes, oh my gosh, Cheesecake Factory, like,
Yes.
Lord, like,
And my mom and I always go there. She loves it for her birthday too because she loves cheesecake.
so my problem is when you start okay, I understand toppings like chocolate or strawberry or like raspberry, things like that on top of your cheesecake. But when you start changing cheesecake into like the cheesecake turtle Oreo, you no longer have a cheesecake. It's delicious, yes, but it isn't cheesecake. I feel like it's not.
I agree, but I think that the new one they just came out with, like the coconut cream cheesecake, that is so good.
Really.
Yes.
Hmm. I'll have to try it. See, I love straight up New York style cheesecake. Like
Yeah, I'm the same. I like, just plain or just with the strawberry, on top, and that's pretty much it.
I don't want a strawberry. I just want it to taste like a sweet bar of cream cheese. And like
Great.
I love um and actually my favorite one that I can get here in town, I found out is actually shipped in from New York itself and it's called the Towering Cheesecake. It's at Coco's Italian Market here, but it actually is made in New York and it's a huge piece. I asked once how much an entire cheesecake would be. It was over $100.
Wow.
Yeah. So, do you have Publix in Florida?
Yes,
I think they have the best store-bought cheesecake you can buy. Just
they
letting you
do.
know.
I agree.
Yeah. Any other store-bought is nothing compared. Like Publix has the best one. So, okay, so let's get into the Grishaverse a little bit. We have, I think we've got some really cool stuff for our listeners because it's a little different. So, our first game, or pretty much will be the only time we do it. It's called "What's Your Sign?" The Grishaverse horoscope. Okay, so what this is based off of is if you have a version of the special edition of Crooked Kingdom, then you will know what I'm talking about. I will explain it though. In the back of this book, there are some other images of the crows. The first special edition came out and it had like some pictures of the crows. This one has pictures of the crows. However, in addition to it, it also has their Zodiac character sign with them. So each picture of every crow has the Zodiac symbol. And I think that's really cool. And anyways, it wasn't until recently that I decided to like kind of check up on it just because I've been studying astrology a little bit. I've been trying to learn how to read birth charts and stuff. So anyways, I decided that since I was start learning enough about it, I'm going to see if these actually match up. And when I looked at them, like they all like matched up perfectly. I don't know if you like had time to look at the ones that she had done and like I guess we should probably read those to the people that don't have this. So Kaz is a Capricorn and real quickly I'm going to read to you what the like Capricorn ambitious, realism, methodical steps, overly serious, relentlessly driven. Okay, I see that definitely. Then we've got Inej is is a Cancer. Nurture, comfort, protection, overprotective, indirect, inconsistent. So do you so far what do you think? Do you think she's on point?
I agree. Yeah, I've looked at them and I agree with all of them too.
Okay, I cuz I felt the same way. I was just like You really did a really good job. So Nina is Leo, self-confidence, loyalty, creativity, unwilling to admit fault, and vain. Um, Matthias is a Taurus, trust, patience, sensuality, and stubborn. Then we've got Jesper, who's a Gemini, curiosity, intellect, networking, restless, aloof, lacks focused attention. I just love some of it because some of it, like, it's so right. Wylan is a Virgo, integrity, reverence, service, self-critical, overly perfectionist. And then the last one, she did Kue, and he's an Aries, which is actually leaf sign, and independence, bravery, passion, impulsive, impatient, and selfish. So those are the ones that Lee put together and said these are their zodiac signs. We don't have like they didn't we don't have their birthdays though, right? Like I they're not listed in any of the books. I was thinking about that. I don't think we know any characters' birthdays, do we?
No, not yet. Maybe in a future book we will.
Yeah, okay. I was just making sure. Like I was like, I don't think anybody's birthday has ever been listed. So okay, so we decided that well, she did the crows. How about we do some of the characters that got left out? You know, there's more Grishaverse characters. So that's what we're going to do. And I guess the best way to, before we get into it, is I probably need to read to you just some of the other ones. Oh, you know what? As we go through them and we figure it out, we'll just read what the description is. So along with it, that'll make sense. I think that's the best way to do it. So, okay. So first up is the Darkling. What do you think for the Darkling?
I chose a Gemini because that definitely made the most sense to me, because I know like Geminis are usually like very knowledgeable, and I know they're always like known as like being like they have the duality to them, not necessarily like two-faced, but I mean they just have like could be having different personalities, and the Darkling's always very good at like reading people straight up, and he's definitely inquisitive and wants to know more, at least in regards to the amplifiers. So I
Yeah.
thought Gemini was perfect for him.
Yeah, and the small little summary notes that we have put together for Gemini: curiosity, intellect, networking, restless, aloof, lacks focused attention. I see what you're saying. Like I mean, and these are just like there's so many different aspects to every human being, so realize that as well. I actually thought that the Darkling is a Capricorn. um which I'm laughing at, and I'll tell you in a minute. Capricorn: ambition, realism, methodical steps, overly serious, and relentlessly driven. So I just saw the Darkling as that because like he's very ambitious. He's got his plan, methodical steps. Like I mean, putting that out, and I mean he's very driven. The reason I'm laughing is because I'm a Capricorn, and I kind of freaked out when I saw that Kaz was a Capricorn, because I was like, "What? Like, how am like I'm nothing like Kaz." So I was laughing when I realized that I thought the Darkling was a Capricorn. I'm like, yeah. Eric, maybe you need to look inside a little bit. Maybe I am just this villain that I just don't realize. I think I'm just this really sweet, nice person on the inside. Apparently, that's what I think, but maybe that's not it. I don't know. Anyways,
What's funnier is that was my second one. It's like I was between Gemini and Capricorn. Maybe Capricorn moon or rising. There you go.
absolutely. There are
Somewhere
s-
in there.
there are a few of them that I couldn't decide, so I listed both. Actually, like this next one. So Alina. I'll go first. So I couldn't decide between Aries and Sagittarius. So Aries is independence, bravery, passion, impulsive, impatient, and selfish. Sagittarius is optimism, freedom, exploration, and chronically dissatisfied. So if you haven't realized that, like, our descriptions have like the three like positive, and then of course we have to have like the three like negative aspects of sign. So, anyways, I couldn't decide between those two for Alina because I j- I don't know. I think actually the more I'm looking at it, I think maybe it's more Aries, which I think is going to be, which is so funny because whenever I think of this Aries sign, I just think of Lee, just because I know she's an Aries. So, what did you put?
I went completely different, and I chose Cancer because she's like very kind and nurturing, and like much like a Nej. Like
Yeah,
they definitely get along together, so I can definitely see them being the same sign.
absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. I when I was doing this, I felt like at one point, oh, you can't have the same signs, but hey, that's not truthful. People have the same
Yeah.
signs. So, okay, well, our next is Bagra. What did you put for Bagra? What
It
do you
was
think?
really hard for me. I ended up putting like Pisces because I feel like she's very intuitive. Yeah, she's more like the mentor. So she's like sympathetic and intuitive in that way, even if she doesn't really come across as very compassionate towards others all the time.
Yeah, I see that. I put Scorpio, which is actually very similar because Scorpio intensity, intuition, emotion, defensive, manipulative, and secretive. So I think we both were right, like close, definitely. So next is my girl, my favorite, Zoya. And no, I didn't put her as a Capricorn. Because I love her, so of course she's not me. Lord, goodness gracious, she's gonna be amazing. So when I thought about her character, though, I think she's a Virgo because integrity, reverence, service, self-critical, and overly perfectionistic. Um, I just think that just because, like, I mean, especially in the last couple books, you just see how dedicated she is, the service, and I mean, she does have this aspect about her that is very like she does want things to be perfect. They never end up being, but it's almost like, and it's never said in the books that she's a perfectionist, but it's like you can. She's always I feel like you can always see that that's just what she's striving so hard to try to catch up to. But anyways, that's what I thought. What do you think?
I put Scorpio for Zoya because I know she can come off as very intense to people, but she's very passionate and resourceful. But she's also like can be defensive, especially emotionally to people. She
Yeah,
really guards it, especially at the beginning.
absolutely. Yeah. So our next one, which is Jenya, I've got two for. So I couldn't decide between Taurus and Pisces. So Taurus, trust, patience, sensuality, and stubborn, or Pisces, intimacy, compassion, sensitivity, no boundaries, escapism. I still can't decide which one out of those. Maybe that's not even. What did you put?
I put Libra, and not just because I am a Libra, but I just feel like, she really had to, like balance a lot of things. Obviously, she
Hmm.
was on, the darkling side for a long time, and, she had to decide what was, right and what was wrong. And I feel like, in the end, she chose what was, the most just, decision, and she ended up with Alina.
Yeah, Libra is all about balance and fairness and harmony. So I see that. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. So next is Nikolai. So I'm gonna let you go first. What did you put for Nikolai?
I put Sagittarius because he's definitely, optimistic and very outgoing and adventurous, definitely a fire sign.
Yeah, I put Leo, self confidence, loyalty, creativity, unwilling to admit fault, and vain, which are just a couple aspects of him. But
Yeah.
so that's interesting. So our last one is Mal. um, okay, I'll go first. I put him as so here. I'm just gonna say this. I've said it already on the show a lot. I have never ever had anything against this character at all. I'm not on that wagon. So if you are, I don't know, enjoy staying on that wagon. I don't know. I've never had any issues with this character at all. So, I put Mal as a Cancer because I thought nurture, comfort, protection, um, overprotective, indirect, inconsistent. I felt like that really went along with his story with, with Alina. He's just like he was very protective, a little overprotective, and like he he just but also just didn't know how to be direct with her and was so but you could tell all he wanted was just to be comfortable and to be nurtured. That's all he wanted, but he just was having a hard time trying to explain that to Alina at the correct time, which is insane because, like, from the very beginning of the book, she's like throwing herself at him practically. I feel like it's just like the signs are all there, and it's like,
Now
wow,
open your eyes. What are you doing?
yeah, just like goodness. So, what'd you put?
I put him as Taurus because he's, definitely can be, determined, of course, but then he's also stubborn at times. But overall, he's definitely dependable and loyal, especially to Alina.
Yeah,
That, at the end, he's there for her.
that's awesome. Well, hey, I think that was fun. So we've got a new thing now, so we can do your zodiac signs. Although I was thinking about this, and I'm not that crazy yet, but if we are in the Grishaverse, that is a whole other world. So I don't think that they would have the same stars. I think that they would actually have like different signs. Like I think there'd just be different constellations. Like if that makes sense, because the zodiac literally is just like it translates from Greek, or I think it's Greek or something, where it's circle of animals, and because looking up at the sky, they'd see like the animals. So that's how it all started. So I think that actually the Grishaverse would have different stars and different constellations, and I think it'd be really cool one day to kind of figure that out. Like maybe there'd be like a firebird or something like that. I see more of their creatures than I don't know. That's what I think. But that's definitely going off the deep end of how crazy I am over this world. So,
No, I agree. A series I'm currently reading, Dragonlance. They do that. They obviously have different constellations of their gods, and their months are named after something related to their gods or something else. But they, of course, like translate into our months if you were to look at it.
yeah,
But they know everyone's birthday, and it's kind of cool to see, how theirs are named and what holidays they celebrate because they do mention some of that, and it's
I
pretty
love
cool.
that. Yeah. So, look out guys because don't worry, I'm sure like I will come up with the Grishaverse Zodiac just for myself, just to have fun. Hey, I enjoy it. So, but I think we did great. I think that was awesome. So, kudos to us. And what you said in the beginning is very right. Like, I mean, so that we were just reading the sun sign. So, if you know anything about astrology, which I did not until just recently, um, your sun sign is what you always know about. That's your like sign that you're born under. But then you also do have a moon sign, and you also like have an ascendant. You have like actually a little bit more than just your sun sign. So when we might have had different answers, but they very well could be explained by the moon that they were in, and it's just very interesting when you so I'm studying how to read these like birth charts, and what it is like it's crazy because it doesn't take much information. It takes your name, your birthday, and the time and where you were born, and you put it in this computer, and then it shoots out this circle image of what the sky looked like at the moment you were born. And what's cool about that is like, so that's how we find out what our sun sign is, our main like zodiac. But to find out what your moon is, it's just really cool. There's all this stuff. So I've been studying it, and anyways. Lord, maybe I'll get so crazy I'll end up like becoming like making a whole horoscope book for the Grishaverse. Who knows?
Yeah, I've done my, natal birth chart before, and it was really cool to see
Did you
because I'm
figure?
a, yeah, it's a Libra sun, Sagittarius moon, and Gemini rising.
Wow.
Go
So-
analyze me later.
yeah. So Yeah, we'll have to talk because there's like after that, there's the ascendants and there's like these. Oh my gosh, there's
There's Mercury, Venus, all that, and it keeps going. I'm like,
yeah,
what is all
there's
this?
a it gets crazy. It brings in geometry. Like if this what planets make a triangle together? Like what planets have a straight line? Like seriously, and these all mean things. It's insane. Um However, I do think it's really cool that you can type that into a computer and we have that information. Like what the sky looked like at that exact moment from that location. That's so cool. So, and that was another reason I thought about the Grishaverse having different zodiacs because it's a different place. Like, I mean, I can't like hell. Otherwise, I'd love to like try to do Zoya's birth chart, but I mean, I can't type in Zodiac. I can't type in the
Yeah.
Grecian. Lord, can't type in Shuhan and that actually work out. Anyways, that was fun. So our next segment that we've got is well, so I guess it's short. We're calling it 40-hour work week, and what we did is I think it was the last special episode that I was with one of my friends, and we took the characters and listed like their favorite song or music or TV show, whatever, something like that. So this is like related to that. However, what we've done here is we've taken the Grishaverse characters and pretend that we have moved them over to our world. And we have given them jobs, 40-hour a week jobs, and we've assigned them jobs. So that's what the game is. We're going to see what we both have come up with for, like, what do we think our Grishaverse characters would be doing for a full-time job to live in our world. So, okay, so first is Darkling. What do you got?
I was sort of between two, like he could be like the CEO of a big company, or what I ended up putting is like a lawyer, since he was more about justice, especially for the Grisha. So I could definitely see him, doing something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that aspect, but you're right. I put him as a photo technician because I just totally went for the whole wanting to be in dark all the time. I
And
didn't,
hey, that's a hobby of his. There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, photography today is not as big as I mean, photography still is big, but like the jobs out there are very like they're small. It's like photo tech is as high as I think it goes, because there aren't like big camera stores and places that you get your film developed, like not the way it used to be. Goodness gracious, I luckily I grew up in the day, and I'm so proud of this. My father, he his hobby was photography, so I was when I was born, like, literally, my father, like, taught me how to, when I was just really young, how to work in the dark room, like, at a very young age, so, like, I grew up knowing how to do that, and I have this fascination with, like, the dark room, like, I love it. That's if I could get back into a dark room, I oh my god, it's a goal of mine. I would love it, but I can't find one. Um, oh my god, I love that stuff. My favorite part literally is going like before you even go in the dark room when you have to get the film out of the canister. And for that, you have to be in a completely pitch black room. So there is no red light for you to see. So you have to like lay out your instruments and know where everything is and then turn off the light and do it all. And like that's my favorite part. I miss that. Just wanted to let because we're discussing Grishaverse, because that makes so much sense. I'm so sorry. Went on a tangent. Okay, phototech is what I put. So next we got Alina. What do you have, honey?
I put teacher, especially because she definitely loves the kids, and I know she ends up with the orphanage later. So I could definitely see her teaching young kids, and they can learn their own talent. How she's sort of discovered hers. So I think that would be a good fit.
It definitely is. I went for a different route on this one. I put assistant manager of Suntan City and the current reigning fake and bake queen in the national Suntan City competition. So, yes. Whew. To me, that was hilarious. Um, I don't think, however, they would call it the fake and bake queen, current reigning fake and bake queen, but I wanted to. So, anyways, however, no problem. Like, if you do go tanning, I just call it fake and bake. It's not anything about it. It's good. Like, you do what
Come
you
on
want.
down to Alina's Fake and Bake.
Maybe that's a commercial we should do. We can put it together with the one we're trying to do with Jenya. Like, Alina,
There you
like,
go.
yeah, it could be together. And next, oh my god, and we have to make Alina Southern at that point, or
Yes,
someone
definitely.
doing it Southern, because it has to be a Southern, like suntan city. I mean, it has to be.
I'm Alina. Welcome to Suntan City.
Can I interest? I am the current reigning bake and bake queen of Suntan City. Oh my god, I think we've got to write that down. I always say write it down and I never will remember. Anyways, okay. Next, Mal. This is horrible, but I think it really goes with him because of his powers. I think he'd be a pest and rodent exterminator just because he can track, like, he'd know where those things are really easily. It's not like I'm not being mean to him. I just think he'd be able to, like, do it well. Because I don't want to, like, make him, like, a hunter. Nobody's a hunter for a job. Well, I don't know. Maybe there are hunters for jobs. I don't know. What'd you put?
There sort of is. I did put the one that was closest to that. I think it's like wildlife technician because you can
Oh,
like track and train the animals. So that's what I put for Mal because again, that's what he loves to do. So that made sense.
that makes so much sense. Yes, it does. Wow. Like a wildlife officer, right?
Yeah, like doing the wildlife and fisheries type of thing. I could definitely see him doing that.
Okay, how did I not think of that? Because of my job, I actually have to do those tickets. How did I not even remember that job? Anyways, okay. So next is my favorite character, Zoya. Um, I do see her as being kind of like your local weather lady, your meteorologist for like your local weather channel. Um, just because I think it'd be funny, and I just would love to see Zoya, who probably does not have a lot of like, she's just she doesn't want to play a lot of games, so I can imagine getting the weather from her would just be very like upfront and just be like, "It's sunny now. It'll be dark later."
It's about to rain.
Now,
Now, right
no,
now.
you can expect some clouds later. Thanks. Back to you, Ken. Maybe that's what we need to do. We need to do some kind of really weird commercial where it's like just news breaks and Zoya's yeah,
There you go.
yeah. So okay, so what'd you put for Zoya?
I went a completely different route too. I did like martial arts instructor because Zoya
Yeah,
definitely can beat anyone up, and she, clocked Alina right in the face.
see, that's awesome. I love that all of our answers are. We have not gotten one single answer even close yet. But what's amazing about that is it's helping because they both, not that there's a right answer, but there are these different aspects of every single character. So it's neat that I'm looking at it one way and you're looking at it in the other way. It's interesting. So our next person is Jenya. What'd you put?
I'm a professional makeup artist. If Jenya had access to Instagram, she'd have like a million followers.
We're close. I put personal stylist. Like, that's very close.
There you
Yeah.
go. The
Huh?
closest answer yet. I knew that one would be probably closer.
Exactly. Okay, so this one, okay, David. So that was a little tough one for me. Did you get an answer for David?
I did actually like search jobs, and there is actually a job called fabricator that does like exactly what David does. Because I do like a
What?
lot of welding and metalworking and stuff. But yeah, apparently fabricator is actually the name of the job. So there you go.
That's an actual word? Like a
Yep.
real word?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. Real word.
there you go. Okay, well, that would definitely be him. See, I didn't put anything because I couldn't decide between I just couldn't get on my head that he would not want to be bothered, but it would be something that involved studying. So I could see him like being, like in school forever, like with all these degrees because like he's just so he'd want to know more and more, but like eventually he'd have to stop going to school. I feel like he'd have to stop somehow, but like he wouldn't want to be around people except for Jenya. So, and he'd be so smart, I couldn't see him doing anything except being a professor and helping, but no, he would want to do things by himself. So I was having maybe like an engineer or maybe yeah, maybe somebody that like he works through somebody else. Like he'll do all the work.
I
He'll
was
do all
thinking
the
like he could easily, like work in a laboratory or something and
yeah.
doing experiments. I could see, he's just alone doing that, or that in the middle working that you don't have to talk to anyone, just do your work,
Yeah, or he's maybe one of those people that like is like always like trying to come up with the like fast and crazy like I mean natural disaster things like maybe he was one of the people that had to try to real quickly like or study COVID. He would be one of those people that's like on the front lines of something serious like that, like something groundbreaking, like trying to find the cure for cancer or something cool like that.
Yeah.
I feel like, and if we had David, he would. That's the
And he
thing.
would win the Nobel Prize.
I know, and he wouldn't even go up and get it. He'd make
Yeah,
Jenya.
he'd
He
be
would.
like, no, just
He'd,
mail it to me.
yeah, and Jenya would go, and she'd go accept it. Oh my God, this next one you're gonna laugh so hard. Nikolai, what did you put?
Think you're gonna laugh too. I put boat captain.
I put Burger King manager solely just for the fact that I couldn't get out of my head those little crowns that they give you when you're a kid. Those paper crowns. Do you
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Nikolai actually thinks he's the king of the Burger King as a child.
I know I couldn't get it out of my head. I had to put it. I was like, "Yep." And he'd have the sense of humor about it. He'd probably have a side hustle where he's really making some really good money or whatever. But yeah, he would be a Burger King. He'd always
No,
wear.
but honestly, Nikolai probably wouldn't work at all. He would just do
He,
whatever.
yeah, he would be walking around the
Yeah.
Burger King pretending to work. He'd probably get fired more than he
Yeah,
kept
yeah.
held on to a job. Okay, so next is Kaz. What do you got?
I put a like economist or like anyone that's in business because
Hmm.
obviously if he was in a legal business and not a crime lord,
Oh,
but
right. Yeah, you don't want
you
that to.
know, but yeah,
So,
I could it's like Kaz on Wall Street would be terrifying though.
well, so my answer might be a little horrifying to you then, but I put the Bellagio Hotel and Casino. He'd be in charge of their like vault security
Oh,
because
there you go. That's a good
because
one.
like I feel like he would just like he would know all that and he would yeah, he would. And he
Or
would
just
be
even
able to
owning a casino, Kaz's casino. There you go.
yeah, he could he apparently yeah, it would Bellagio would change to like the Crow
Yeah,
Club.
new owners,
That'd be
the Crow
amazing.
Club.
New owners. Wow. Okay, so next is Inej, and I didn't really know the word for I put like I couldn't stop thinking about government. I couldn't stop thinking about somebody that has a job that like had to be hidden. So some kind of like government secret, top secret job is what I put. What do you got?
I went with a different route, as we know that she's very very limber and like gymnastics. I put that she was a physical therapist and she like loves to care about people and she would help people if they're struggling.
I see that. Yeah, absolutely. So our next one is Jesper, and okay, I'm just gonna say it because you're gonna love it. And I love this. I think he would be a Pizza Hut delivery man because I think he doesn't care. He would want a job with flexibility. He would want to be on his own. He would just have fun. And he's Jesper. He's a partier. We can't put him in a casino, but if he's driving around for his job, he can always stop and like do a little gamble here or whatever. So I mean, he'd need to have some control. So I thought a Pizza Hut delivery man would be perfect for him.
Again, I went with a different route with mine. I put like, a gunsmith, since I know he's obsessed with, his two pistols. I could think he'd definitely, do that or do gun shows, or even just be like the performer that does all the trick shots. He could do that too. Do the traveling shows.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, that's what's so cool. Yeah. We both are getting the total package of the character.
There you go.
So our next is Wylan. This was a little tough for me. I put a college chemistry professor's assistant because I feel like he's still really young, but he's really smart, and I feel like he would definitely be wanting so hard to I think he would want to be a professor. I think he would want, but like there's a lot of different aspects of him. This is just talking about education wise. I think that he would want so hard to have a goal of maybe one day getting his doctorate or something like that. And he would, but I feel like at the beginning he would just he'd be an assistant to some kind of professor. I don't know. That's what I think. So
I put music teacher mostly just because of
mhm.
the flutes. There you go.
That's perfect. That Yeah, he would be so maybe he would get his doctorate in music. You could. He'd be oh my gosh, he could lead a symphony. Yeah, he'd be great.
The music theory. There you go.
So, okay, this one I had so much fun with because I love it. Matthias. So I have to hear what you put first.
I just put him as a military officer because I would, definitely that would be like a perfect fit, for him.
So I figured he would be okay, I went really specific with this, okay? So get ready. You know how crazy I am. So I put Orange County's #1 dog walker for the stars.
Yeah, my second thing was like, oh, maybe he could be like a vet or something, because he loves animals. So it's like one of the
Exactly.
two.
I just feel like he'd be this huge, built hot guy that all
Yeah,
these rich milfs are running around and being like, "Oh my god, will you walk my dog?" And he's got all these little pooches, but he's
exactly.
got his
100 dogs on each leash.
yep. And of course he's got his real huge wolf dog, but he's got all these mini I don't know. I loved that picture in my head. It made me laugh so hard. So, okay, so we're almost done, but we're not there yet. Nina. I put a burlesque dancer because I think she would totally do that and be beautiful at doing that. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, it'd be gorgeous to watch.
I went with the route sort of how you did with a Neige. I put Nina CIA because she knows many
Mm,
languages and she's an expert at
yep.
spying and all that. So she could definitely be a great agent.
Yeah. See, and I forgot about that. Yep. Okay, so here is our last one. Hana. I okay, so well, no spoilers or anything. Yeah, you know who she is. I think that if she was in our world, which would be amazing for her, for him. Yeah, Hana. Well, Hana's pronouns is him, he, I believe. At the end of Ruin and Rise, at the end of Rule of Wolves. So even though it's not said, he Hana is in the prince's body though. So anyways, I think Hana would be part of the city's LGBT center. So I feel definitely a part of the youth center and helping with the struggles that Hana went through, making sure that younger kids that are dealing with the same thing don't have to deal with the struggle that Hana had to deal with. I feel like I just see that a lot. That's what I think. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I struggled to come up with one for Hana, but
It
I agree with what you said. I think that would be a perfect fit.
Well, it's a hard one because Hana's character, it's really hard. We don't I feel like we don't know Hana like we do all the other characters we just listed. We
Yeah, we've
don't.
only seen them in 2 books, so it's hard to gauge their personality.
Exactly. Um, so, but I love, like, see that I love the fact that when like, I was so surprised at the very our last episode when I found out that Hana was still alive for the second time apparently, because I completely forgot. So when you listened and Hana died, I seriously was, like, devastated, and Terry's like, "You forgot?" And I was like, "Yeah, how did I like, Hana's dead?" So then, like, oh my god. I love that about my memory. Like, literally, I think if I just wait a little bit of time after I read a book, I'll forget it and I can read it again. Like, yeah, it's awesome. It's Alzheimer's for you. Anyways, that was so much fun. So that was a really cool game. I think we had a lot of fun with that. So we had let's do okay, so we've got what if. However, I know that we are running a little short on time just because we have been talking for a good amount of time. So, yeah, we'll be good. Okay. So, first one, we got two. What if Alina became corrupted by power? So, who wants to go first? Do you want me to go first or you want to go first on that one?
I'll go first. I had thought about this one and like, let's say, after, during Siege and Storm, after the second amplifier, maybe she really starts, desiring, her power. And maybe she would eventually, end up working with a Darkling and agreeing with him. And like, yes, I embrace that we're equals. It's like, I can't have a regular mortal life with these powers. And, I'm going to end up being, immortal like you. And then they possibly would have, ruled Ravka as king and queen together. And because Nikolai would still be a monster because the Darkling would be alive. And then her friends would probably be in prison or killed for treason against the new king, which is now the Darkling at this point. And then
Wow.
they could actually do his plan of expanding the fold into any countries who were, against, what they wanted to do. And basically he would have his like one country of Ravka that would be the Grisha safe place, but at the expense of killing anyone who disagreed with him.
Yeah. Yeah, you could live and have a great
Yeah,
life as long as you do every single thing I say and
exactly.
don't
It's
disagree.
simple.
Yeah, just don't disagree with a single thing. I mean, that's it.
And I thought
Um,
of another path she could take, that if she didn't side with him and maybe, let's say, okay, she braced her power and then she killed him, and then everyone would see her as a hero and as a living saint, and the Rovkins might actually like praise her for defeating him, and maybe they would want to make her queen.
hmm,
And if she accepted, and obviously she's still immortal like the Darkling, and if she stayed queen, eventually, like the Darkling, she would sort of like lose her empathy over time as the centuries passed, and maybe she would decide to do what he did and create her Nichevoya, but would be like light soldiers or something else. And she could
int-
create something else because she couldn't, obviously expand the fold, but she could, maybe create something else if she used Murzos. So who knows what she's
yeah.
capable of.
See, that's an aspect I've never thought of. I've never thought about what, like, because Alina uses Merzos only a couple times, and it's just when she's really harnessing the Darkling's powers. That's the only times we ever, right? Am I correct with that? Thinking that that's the only time she's ever done it?
Pretty much like, yeah, that last, scene, most in Siege and Storm where she creates her own Nichevoya from him and that weakens them both. And then they
Yeah.
out.
Because it makes when you mentioned, like, her using Merzost and having, like, this her own like, version of the Sun Soldier, like, how neat would that be to be able to see the complete opposite of the Darkling? Like, it'd almost be like I feel like they'd be on fire. Like, they'd be
Yeah,
like
I'd love
these.
to see my evil power couple scenario and just evil Lena would be awesome.
Yeah, Alina, like, her pretty much, like, from going from light, I feel like she just turns into pretty much just, like, fire and burning everything, but yeah, it'd be light.
The light one or something like that, she that's her title.
That's crazy. So one thing that and I was actually Siege and Storm at the very end of it is when Alina does get her white hair. Or at least it's the very last part of it. It's when she
Mhm.
recognizes and notices it. So my thoughts on this have to do with this question. I feel like the reason that her hair actually is turned white partially is because from if we think of Alina's story from the beginning, she starts out innocent, young girl, hiding Grisha powers, doesn't want anything to do with it. We get to Siege and Storm. She's got power. She's got her own power. She can control it. But I mean, she's worked with it a little bit. Then she gets that second amplifier, and I don't know, but like if you ever go back and read that part specifically, every time I read it, like it reminds me straight up of an addict, just because of the way it's described, which it's beautifully written by Lee. That pretty much, like I mean, Alina is like it's a rush of power, and it's not bad. Like I mean, she's enjoying it, and she gets addicted. So I feel like through Siege and Storm, you start to watch her change. And you really do like I mean, to the point where I mean she gets very power hungry. She gets to the point where I mean, even at the end of like Siege and Storm, yes, she's trying to like commit suicide for the good, like killing the Darkling and herself, but she uses his power to like create these the Nichavoya to like try to kill him, and it's like she's just starting to consume so much dark magic, dark or so much Merzost that I feel like the reason that she gets that white hair is because all the light and the light magic that she had is like escaping and leaving her body because she has been consumed by the darkness. And I yeah, so that's what I think. I just wanted to, yeah. I know it's very out there, but I I I don't know. That's what I've always kind of thought because I just vividly remember her story of getting like addicted to this power is very I don't know. I was I paid close attention to that. It was just it's crazy how Lee wrote it. So,
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I always thought, just because she's actually using basically true magic,
mm.
and then using true magic, it makes you weaker. And she used so much that, it's draining her life. And so that's why her hair starts turning white,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah, that could like there's so many like the white hair is like a significant point, and I think we all love it, and we can't wait for it. However, I don't think it's ever really explained, is it? Like,
I don't think so. But I mean, I always assume, because like Grisha, how they're always saying our, powers give us, more vitality in life, and we
ex-
feel energized instead of weaker. And then like true magic is what's making you weak. And because I think even later on, the Darkling, they looks like he's like tired in the eyes because he's been actually creating something new, the
yep,
Nichavoya, and so he's a bit exhausted. So
and
I feel
see,
like so much that yeah, her hair turned white.
and see, that's what I love about what Lee created is like so like Merzos literally is like I mean it's just being a Grisha is like yeah, the magic makes sense. It's you can only make something out of something you have, something that's already there. But nobody is a creator. Nobody can create
Mhm.
something. Nobody can create life or anything like that. And I think that's really cool to have that. And then of course, I wonder like even though we have no clue, like I wonder what the how you would be able to like conjure Merzos, like what the difference like I mean conjuring your own like power. How do you like what would how I don't know. I guess the difference in it, like, it's interesting. I've always thought about that. Like, I mean, how would you know that? I guess there's the books about how to do it. Who knows?
If
I,
there's actually like spells, because I think even in the short stories, when the young Darkling is showing Ula his sister, she has to cast a spell, and then she her
yeah,
feet turn into, and then she becomes basically Ursula. that she used a spell. I think there's might like real spells, and I think they show that in
There's
the show too, that
blood.
he like reads a spell and blood, and there's an actual sacrifice and other things. So
Yes, I think we're onto something. I think that's what it
yeah,
is. I think it has to,
somewhere.
and that's what happens when you're Grisha fanatics like we are. And we've read all of it so much, it ends up unfortunately turning into this big old ball of putty where like it's really like this big old. We've got so much Grishaverse information. We pretty much have mush in there that we don't know. Can't put it all together. But I think you're right. Some kind of blood sacrifice, or maybe I'm confusing that with another story. But that sounds right to me. There's got to be um, there has to be some kind of you've got to give something because you're not using anything.
Yeah,
Like,
magic comes with a price, whereas their regular powers don't, but something's got to give. That's why whether it's your energy being wasted to create something or you sacrifice someone else's life to make something, that makes sense to me.
yeah. And see, what's interesting is to think that that is what created the fold. Like the fact of him using Merzost is what, right? Like, I mean, like him
Mhm.
using Merzost and like trying to like make his own, like is what created that, and he must have been doing a lot of crazy that must have been a really heavy spell because he's done some
Yeah.
Mirzos before and he hasn't created a fold, but to create a fold and anyways, that's cool. I okay, so what's our next one? Well, did we already cover what if Alina went with the Darkling at the end of Siege and Storm, or did we already kind of cover that? No, we didn't.
No, that's sort of like, yeah, after like the part that I've been talking about, like the, Nietzsche Voya, like if she had went with, the
Yeah.
Dark right after to save her friends, because that was the deal.
Okay. So this would be very okay. So I got to think. So what if Alina went with the Darkling at the end of Siege and Storm instead of going to the White Cathedral? Like that's what happened. So she, well, I hope to God that if that really did happen, that the beginning of Ruin and Rising would still start with Izumrude. It better, because I mean he is the very first in the very first line. But she wouldn't go to the White Cathedral. Um, she would.
At least she wouldn't have to deal with, yeah, with the creepy apparatus at least, but she would still be essentially a prisoner in the, little palace, but hey.
Yeah, we'll see. And the apparat has always like he's always been so creepy, and I feel like even when I first read this for the first time, he was creepy. But he's got. It's just there's something going on, and you can tell, like especially with these zealots, like these people that like. My
Mhm.
God, the fact that she was almost torn apart by the people that are like love her in Siege and Storm when she goes out to the pilgrims camp and they're like calling her Sancta Alina. I mean, they love her, but like to the point that they're about to like kill her by tearing her, like accidentally tearing her apart. Like that's what kind of crazy fanatic he is, and I feel like I don't know, he's pretty evil too. Um, I feel like there's two different sides to this. She could she could go and try to trick the Darkling. She could say, "Hey, I'm gonna go with you, yes, to save my friends," and have some kind of trick that she planned that all along so her friends would be okay, and then she's gonna stay with the Darkling so she at least has some insight of what's going on. I mean, best to keep your enemies close.
Mhm.
Um, and maybe she'd kill him and take over. Maybe she wouldn't. Or I don't know.
I was also thinking that maybe like, yeah, she could like be a spy, because then she would actually be with the Darkling and finding out their plans, and maybe somehow she could get a message to Nikolai and them of like, hey, like this is what he's planning to do. This is where he's going to attack next or something.
Yeah. Well, and then the whole thing at Siege and Storm, the end, she probably wouldn't lose her power.
Mhm.
So she would have her power still. We have to realize that. Like, I mean, so she wouldn't have
Just
white
wouldn't
hair.
be finding the Firebird. She's basically would be stuck in the little palace, and either, well, actually, maybe
No,
the Darkling would try and find the Firebird
yes,
too. Yeah,
they would do it together. They would go and try to find that Firebird together.
and
And
see, yeah, and then he would maybe kill Mal, and I don't know how that would have affected things, like if he did it
but
instead of,
see, how would
you know.
he find out that
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if we assume that Mal's searching for it too, like to give to Alina or something, who
hmm,
knows? But yeah, I think he would try to find the third amplifier with her.
I definitely agree. And we were talking about this before. I think that the Firebird is an amplifier still. I know that like in the story, like they don't kill it and like that's it. But it's never said that it wasn't an amplifier. It's just they didn't what why didn't they
It's not
kill it?
Morozova's special amplifier, but it could be an amplifier, like how Zoya's tiger was an amplifier, and
Exactly. Because Mal wasn't like I mean, wasn't meant to be the third amplifier. If he was like making three amplifiers, you don't like you don't set out and you're like, okay, here's a beautiful stag, here's this great sea wisp, and now here's this scrawny man.
here's this
Like,
tractor. There you go. It's a trifecta.
no. Um, and especially because it's still like in the Lives of Saints where that I love that the picture that they use is still like so reminiscent of the actual story where because in Siege and Storm is when they start to all of a sudden realize that this picture is what gives them the hint to go and look at like
Mm,
yeah, to go back and look like, oh my god, that's where I live. So I think that's funny that like one, oh my god, that tower must be where I live, and
yeah.
that she noticed that there's a Firebird. Like, so yes, it's definitely an amplifier too. However, mm, that'd be kind of weird because the Darkling, I think he wouldn't have any. I think if he found it, he wouldn't have problems killing it. He would go get Mal. I think he would find out a way to get Mal though, because Mal has helped track everything else down. Um,
Although technically their deal was, I'll leave your friends alone if you come with me. But I mean, whether he would actually,
yeah.
keep that deal or not. But I would think if he wants Alina, that he wouldn't jeopardize anything and maybe just try and go find it and like, Alina, analyze this picture.
See,
Let
I
me
don't
find.
I don't think he would have ever found any of the amplifiers without Mal because I think because
Yeah,
if
because they're attracted to another amplifier. They're attracted to Mal. However, now that she is wearing two of them, at least in the book, she wears them. They aren't
yeah,
actually eating her skin, but
yeah.
but either way, I mean, I think then they'd be able to find it because they'd be the Firebird would be attracted to her sea whip bracelet and her collar.
Yeah. I think yeah. It would be very weird if she went off. Who knows what she would do? Hopefully she'd do the right thing and trick the Darkling and be right there by his side and know everything that's going on and then all of a sudden be the one that like somehow ends up like killing him and figuring it out at the same time that she needs to kill. Who knows? It could be so
Or
many
a
different.
more hopeful thing, maybe she convinces him that what you're doing is absolutely insane, and maybe she finally, like,
Yeah,
hey,
that works. He falls in absolute love and is just like all
love
this.
wins the day. That's what I choose to believe.
Okay, you know what? I agree. The Darkling has thrown his black kefta to the side. He has stopped torturing and hurting people. Merzos no more. He is now He is obsessed with the Queen of Light, and yeah, he just wants to love her all day. Wow. Interesting. Mal would hate that when he
I
found that
was
out.
like, you were gone for 5 minutes. What happened? Darkling,
God.
I've seen the error of my ways. Oh, and by the way, Alina and I are getting married. What? Like,
Oh my God. That's crazy.
and Mal the wedding invitation. He's like, what the hell is this? This must be something.
Oh, poor Mal. He just really just doesn't. Poor guy. At least in the books. I guess the fold would stay there then until someone figured out that Mal was the key to it, right?
Yeah, as long as the Darkling's alive, the fold is just there, and he can expand it, but he can't, shrink it, obviously.
Yeah, because everybody would realize that. I mean, he had been trying to shrink it, but then he yeah.
I mean, maybe Alina could actually, if she did their original plan that she thought and use enough light, that maybe she could have dissipated it or destroyed some of it. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder whether her power ever was strong enough to be able to destroy it. I think it's always been her power because it's huge, and I think like the creation of it was because because of abomination. So I don't think anybody's power would be strong enough to like
And she
make
probably have to use her own, like,
her own Merzos that we're talking about.
to destroy it.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have figured it out after many centuries.
Ugh, who knows? But that one could go on and on and on. But that was a
Mhm.
good one. Good job, girl. Well, that's our show, guys. Thank you. I hit the mic. Oh my goodness gracious! Thank you so much, Michelle. I loved it. Did you have fun?
Yes.
See, I told you you would have a great time. It was easy. So, real quickly before we go, just to let you know, we will be returning to our regular podcast, and we will February 4th to start breaking down the lives of saints, which I'm so excited about. However, I did say in our last podcast we'll be reading the first four saints. When I looked at that, that might be a little confusing because the third story actually is covering two saints. So it's actually the first four stories. So you're reading Margaret, Anastasia, Ko, and Nayar, and after you read Sankt Juris' story, stop. That's where we end it. And we're going to just dive in on February 4th and find all the Easter eggs and everything and just have a blast. So I hope you all will join us. And thank you so much, Michelle, for joining me. This was fantastic. And yeah, Michelle is definitely one to thank. She has helped with so much of a lot of surprises that I can't talk about, but will be, well, the website that will be coming soon. She's one of the behind the scenes. So, anyways, I'm so glad that we finally get her on here. And yeah, so we're excited to share some really cool stuff with you guys. So, you keep on sticking around, and we will see you next time. So, long live the Grishaverse.
Like we're at the end of the hour, so my voice is a little husky. A plus.
No mourners.
No funerals.
This has been GrishaCast. Connect with us on the web at GrishaCast.com. Send an email to info@GrishaCast.com. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and yeah, all of them. We're GrishaCast. Thank you to our amazing staff, Chris, Alex, Sid, Michelle, Amber, and our new graphic designer, Chloe.